In Lost Sphear, Square Enix spins an interesting RPG tale of lost memories in an attempt to recapture its fans' most beloved gaming memories. In fact, it crams so many different nostalgic ideas and references into its relatively brief running time that it overcomplicates its strong battle system and never really finds an identity of its own. Lost Sphear, the second game from developer Tokyo RPG Factory, continues the studio's philosophy of creating new role-playing experiences inspired by the classic Chrono Trigger, and it comes a lot closer to realizing that goal than its predecessor, 2016's pleasant yet monotonous I Am Setsuna. It has great moments, and it certainly offers a great deal of flexibility. To its credit, Lost Sphear's plot has a unique vibe to it, in a good way. The main character is Kanata, a young man who discovers he has the ability to restore people and places in the world that have faded into blank white voids because people have inexplicably forgotten them. It's all very mystical and calls to mind classical Japanese philosophies such as the beauty of impermanence and the concept that all things contain a living spirit. Of course, this is a console RPG, which means Kanata's mission mostly involves using the flexible battle system to kill monsters, completing predictable side quests, collecting vendor trash items from dead monsters, and outsmarting cliché evil empires and all-powerful cosmic forces. Kanata is joined in his quest by one of the most motley assortments of characters you'll ever see band together in an RPG. They run the gamut from demons to kings to kids, and these allies make for quite a ragtag sight when they step on screen to chatter during cutscenes. But after a while, Lost Sphear leaves the impression that Tokyo RPG Factory's tactic for recapturing the spirit of classic RPGs basically amounts to throwing elements of every classic RPG at the wall in the hope that something sticks. It bogs itself down with a ridiculous number of mechanics that undermine the elegance that made Chrono Trigger great. For example, your party soon gains the ability to armor up with high-powered mechanical armor called Volko suits. Veteran RPG fans may get warm and fuzzy memories of Xenogears, but here, Volko suits amount to little more than a ham-fisted power boost in Lost Sphear's positional battle system, rather than dramatically transforming enemy encounters in a meaningful way. Likewise, restoring lost memories feels an awful lot like restoring the world in Dragon Quest VII. But in Lost Sphear, that same idea lacks the earnest vignettes and character stories that define the heart of that series, robbing it of resonance. Then there are things that are simply taken from other classic RPGs without putting any sort of unique spin on them to set them apart from their source material. There's a Shipwreck Graveyard taken straight out of Final Fantasy V, a cruel empire with a good-hearted ruler and craven military leaders is swiped from Suikoden. Oh, and you have to deal with a thinly veiled Winter Soldier knockoff too. That's not even from an RPG. In the background, Lost Sphear contains enough behind-the-scenes systems to power a 100-hour open-world game, but it's all compressed into a linear quest that you can potentially complete in 20 hours. A highly customizable Sprit Knight magic system, a gear forging system, dozens upon dozens of food recipes for which you have to supply hundreds of different ingredients, and more. But none of these have the space to properly stretch their legs. Rather than coming across as deep and substantial, Lost Sphear's inner workings instead seem rushed and crowded. Some of this is a double standard, in that if this were, say, an amateur fan game, Lost Sphear's attempts to recapture the nostalgia of vintage console RPGs might impress. Coming from the publisher that made most of the old games being harvested for nostalgia here, Lost Sphear feels lacking. Still, even if it falls short of the lofty goals its creators have set for it, Lost Sphear does frequently manage to capture the moment-to-moment vibe of classic role-playing games. Lost Sphear tries to recapture the glory of Chrono Trigger and its classic peers all at once, but flies too close to the sun and plunges into a quagmire of overcomplicated systems and shoehorned-in references. It does manage to package up the nostalgic feel of the games it emulates, and it may grow on you over time even if it never quite gels. Is it a modern classic? No. But it's kind of classic-ish, and that's okay too. For more, check out the first 24 minutes of gameplay and our review of I Am Setsuna. And for everything else, stick with IGN.